This is pretty funny today. I come out to the garage. I wanted to do the maintenance that I normally do, check the tires, just give the bike a quick once over, because we basically have put just under 1,000 miles on this bike since the restoration. We have a couple little things that I wanted to take care of on it. It's time to adjust the chain, and but we're going to put this aside for a couple of days and ride the RD. Now the RD, there's a couple of things about this bike. I think how can I say this that it'll make sense? I love my RD, of course, but here's one of the things I tried to do in the very beginning when I got it. I try to keep it very authentic. Authentic meaning it's got one of those batteries with water and caps. And to be honest, the years have gone by and I've maintained it, but now since the black bike needs a battery, and I noticed, oh, it's 2013. Wow, I better get a battery. I looked to see how old that battery is. That battery's 8 years old too. So, and I went to top off the water and it needed water, and it took a charge nice and everything. But the point I wanted to make is I'm getting to the point now where I don't want to do that maintenance. I want to cut down on the maintenance some. So I know I'm going to I got a real genuine battery tender battery for the Kawasaki. I'm going to look and see which one they recommend for this. They make a smaller one, and to be honest, now that's going to mean that I only have two. I have two left with these old-fashioned batteries that don't have lithium-ion batteries, and the ones that have lithium-ion batteries have been perfect over the years. And I'm sure something that's overkill is I keep these batteries. I used to take them off charge in the summer, but since some of the batteries are getting old, I'm just stacking a deck in my favor here. But I'm going to be glad to get rid of these 7 and 8 year old batteries. So my goal is, as these bikes become ready for a new battery, I'm not going to buy any batteries that aren't lithium ion, just because I don't want to do any maintenance. And by cutting down on the maintenance, it'll give me time to do other things that I enjoy a lot more than checking the water in the battery. And the weather has been super hot, and it's been our goal to get out of here as early as possible and get back before the real heat of the day. And we are going to do that today. So who says the fish are never hungry in the morning? They're hungry morning, noon, and night. And still, as of this morning, we have not got the other groundhog that's been munching away on Karen's garden back here. I just love watering the grass in the morning, knowing when I get back I have to mow it. It's like the worst of all worlds. A farmer's work is never done. No matter how many times I water these plants, the next day I have to water them again. Tough life being a farmer. Well, the farm work's finally done and we're ready to hit the open road. It's going to be a hot one. So while I'm out, we're going to have what now? What is this in here? Chicken empanadas?
Chicken and cheese.
Chickalese. Made with fresh chickens. Oh, that'll make the ride. I'll be thinking about this all the way I'm riding around today. So about a half hour into this ride, a very surprising thing happened. The bike started running rougher and rougher, and I think basically it was running on one cylinder toward the end of this. And I decided, rather than continue to ride, I'd shoot a few pictures here at one of the scenic locations I like to stop at, and cut my losses rather than get too far from home. I was already 45 minutes from home here. and get back and see what was happening with the bike. And I wasn't sure, but right up to this point, I wanted to make sure I got home before the bike actually died. But it was running rougher and rougher as the day went on. And to be honest, I just didn't want to have to call Luciano and have him come rescue me. So this turned out to be a very short ride today, very, very short in fact, because what happened is it started running a little rougher than I normally accept, and I wanted to bring it back and check the points and check the, see how everything's doing. It's been a long time since this hasn't run right. So let me just describe what the problem was today, or what we hope was the problem. Anyway, the last time I rode with Luciano, that we did a two-stroke day, and he had his bike that had the chain issue. If you're a follower of the channel, you know it's. But these old bikes, it's always an adventure, and there's something about that that draws you in. You feel like you're going to Antarctica or in a canoe or something. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but anyway, here's what the issue was. The bike now has just under 17,000 miles. When I bought it, it had 7,000. So I put about 10,000 miles on it. And to be honest, I've tried to maintain it and upgrade it and do everything, but one of the things I have to admit that I haven't been right up to date on is checking the points. So this bike has, I know I did it when I bought the bike, and I don't know if the bike has points that are 17,000 miles or 10,000, because when I first bought the bike, I wasn't that good about keeping the records. And this was a Valentine present from Karen. Anybody who follows the channel knows the whole story of that. But anyway, so I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, I got 10,000 miles on these points. I limped home. I got away. I got not even to where I wanted to ride today. The bike just kept running rougher and rougher and rougher and rougher. So I looked at the plugs. And the plugs, I've never fouled a plug with this bike. I've never had it stop running because the plug fouled. So I took the plug on the throttle side, looked perfect. The one on the clutch side, black as can be, so I know I have an issue. And these are iridium plugs, so usually they would not foul out in 10,000 miles. Well, here's the other side of this. I know, because I just set the timing on this not that long ago, I know, maybe I should have run a little sandpaper over the points. And because the bike was running great, I just neglected it. And that's the lesson. When it's running good, still do the maintenance. And that's the whole thing with, I keep talking about these maintenance-free batteries, and what I'm trying to do is have a genuine old bike, but a little bit less maintenance. So let me take the cover off and see what the points look like. Now, because we're in a part of the day now, coming back from a short ride, we've been a part of the day that it's over 90 degrees already in the garage. This would have been a great day to change some tires. Put those tires, I wouldn't even need, they would jump onto the rim in this temperature. But anyway, having these fans and having this fan makes this possible that you can even be out in this temperature. So step one on this is, and I wanted to go through this step by step. I got the manual. I'll double check because I know the point gap is usually on these bikes 14 thousandths, but I want to double check it because I forget things. I got my maintenance logs out. All the logs for all the bikes are in there. So time to pull the cover off and get started. So just doing a quick plug check. You can see this plug is running relatively normal, and these plugs have a lot of miles on them. This one, not so much. So it's more than likely this set of points that's bad. But obviously, and what I did, I always confer with Luciano because he's got a lot of experience with these older bikes, and he made a great suggestion. Just get the points set that the bike will run, and that's always a good idea. And then bring it up to his house, and he'll do the final thing with his dial indicator. So that's the plan today, is just to get the bike running again, that I can get it up to his house. So just keep in mind something, that modern bikes need a lot less maintenance, but when they do, it's usually hundreds of dollars. Old bikes need more maintenance, but when you need maintenance like today, they give you a lot of warning that something's wrong. They start running rough, then they run crappier, and they just keep running crappier for a while. So you get plenty of time to think about it. And then the nice thing is, when you go to fix it, the parts are really inexpensive. And we're going to order, even if we get this running perfectly, I'm going to order 2 brand new sets of points. I'll see if Partzilla has them, or one of the places that I've done business with. Now, it really is a true thing. These old bikes, they do need a lot of maintenance, and I guess that's part of the charm. And I always say something that I hope people don't get offended by or think that I'm an elitist or something, but you know, a motorcyclist, a person that considers himself a motorcyclist, part of that is you got to be able to do some of the work on a bike. And I think most of us fit into that category. I certainly am not a professional mechanic. I don't pretend to be. I know Luciano is, and so I always think I'll figure out what I can do on my own, and if all else fails, then I can make him jump over here and fix this. But I think I can get this running again, and then just have him do the final thing with his dial indicator. Okay, and now you really can't tell much until I get my microscope out as far as looking at the points. But one of the things, and I can do this, I try to do it with a close-up lens, is to get the points that they're open on the high point of the cam and then clean them with some sandpaper. Luciano recommended 320 sandpaper. So one of the first things is just to do a visual inspection and see what's cooking in here. Now, it looks like, it absolutely looks like the set of points that it says left is worn a lot more than the right side. This is the left, I've got them marked. So it's almost guaranteed when I check the setting on the left points, it's going to be not up to spec, but we're going to check them both, of course. Now I'm hoping it's just going to be a simple thing of dressing off the points, and they tell you in the manual that you have to take them apart to do it, but a simple way, since I'm going to replace them very quickly, maybe after one more ride of just getting it up to Luciano's, that I don't want to spend the whole day doing that, so I'm going to try to just dress them off just enough to see if that's going to be part of the problem. And then of course I have to reset the timing. But the way this always works is you get the point gap set, you get it cleaned, and then you have to reset or recheck the timing. So the things I need to do, I have 2 feeler gauges, some Q-tips with some parts cleaner, and some, this is 400 sandpaper. And what I do, I make a little thing, I fold it sticky back, I fold it back on itself, so it does both sides of the points at the same time. Not exactly the factory way, but this will get us through the day with a minimum amount of work. So I always think the best thing to do if you're not a total professional, but you do this every day, is always have, well, have a friend like Luciano is what you should have. So let's see, you want to get this up on the cam. If it's completely off, I want to see the point at which it opens completely. Right about there. We're right up on the highest point of the cam. Actually, it could be a little bit back. So right there is where I want to do a little cleaning. In fact, what I got to do here, I've got to open the points just a little bit. Get the sandpaper in there and so it doesn't take long, and I don't need to do this until I see that they're both nice and clean. And again, and I'll make a separate video of replacing the points. It's tricky, there's a lot of fiber washers involved and stuff. Not out of the question, even I can do it. Anyway, we'll make a separate video. The whole idea of this is just to get this, that we can get it up to Luciano's for a final tune-up. And he has that dial indicator that'll get the timing exactly right on the money. Pretty much can see what comes out of them. Now I got to clean them with parts cleaner, and hopefully that dressed it off, but we got to check, next thing is to check that we have a gap. So now I have a 14 thousandths feeler gauge, and I want to see how close we are. It looks like that's pretty good. It doesn't feel real loose, and yet it's got a little drag to it, which is just about right. It's 12 to 16 is the recommended amount. Now obviously while we have this apart, I'll dress off these points, make sure I have 14 thousandths on this set of points, and then we'll double check the timing with the timing light, and hopefully that'll get us that it's running good enough that I can get it up to Luciano's for the super fine tune-up. Now, I'm of course checking all the screws that they were tight. None of these connections are loose. While I have this apart, have the cover off. Now, according to the manual, if when I get the new points in here, and that's a whole separate thing. If that doesn't cure the problem, then it's the next thing you change is the condenser. I don't have a condenser here, so maybe when I order the part, I ordered 2 sets of points. I'll order a condenser too and change the whole thing out. Save one step. So the next step is to check the timing with the timing light and just see if it's going to be, if it's not moved any, we're home free all. If it's moved, we got to get it back because it moves as the little cams wear. That's the problem. And at so many miles, depending on if you have grease on that cam or not, and who knows, see the problem is, this bike has 7,000 miles. I don't know what the guy before me did. I have no idea. So I have to assume the worst, that he did nothing. So this is not the super accurate way to do it. The way a Luciano does with the dial indicator I think is more accurate. But this will tell us if the bike is going to be close enough, or if we've disturbed something by cleaning the points. We might have disturbed the timing. Who knows? We'll check it anyway, and hopefully we can get it running good enough today that we can get it up to Luciano's next time it's in the ride cycle. Now, I'm not so sure you're going to be able to see this. It's off a little bit. It's off a very small amount, but I'm going to fine tune it here. So I got this side exactly right on the money now. Now I got to go do the other side, and of course switch the timing light over to the other wire and repeat the whole thing. And it's the 2 things that I do remember about this. If you keep these screws that hold the timing plate, if you keep them just tight enough, you can just take the screwdriver and watch the timing light move over to the left and get it right in the middle. Now Joe Padula told me something, I don't know, all RDs are the same or different years, but his RD, he has an RD and it doesn't have timing marks. So I was wondering what would be a great idea is have Luciano get the dial indicator exactly right and then get in there with a little, I guess an etching tool or a pen or something and put your own timing marks on it. Okay, and so the right cylinder is right on the money. I don't have to adjust anything. It was just the left one that was off, and maybe from dressing the points. But it's very close now. It should be good enough to drive up to Luciano's. I guess we're going to find out. So it's a relatively simple thing now to just put the cover back on. And what I'll do, it's way too hot to ride out there right now, but the next time I ride one of the other bikes, I'll take this and take a short ride on it. Just make sure it's safe to go up to Luciano's, which is basically a 35-minute ride from my house. No big deal. And I would always, if I was doing something where I was wondering if I've made a good repair or a mediocre repair or whatever, and just have Luciano drive the bike. He can usually pick up on this a lot quicker than I can. And that's what the A-Team is all about, and what it's been over the years is we've all managed to help each other with paint work, mechanical work, I'm not sure what else. Lessons of life. And of course the greatest thing of all, the adventures of old motorcycles. And it's always an adventure. It's never Groundhog Day. I've never ridden this bike twice and thought, well, I've been on this ride before. It's always something. So like with any two-stroke, you always have plug wrench and some extra plugs, but this bike has been really good on not eating plugs, and I've used the iridium plugs. They've been real good. They're expensive. They're $9 a piece, and they've lasted. But today, I hope that what we did is we ducked a bullet here. Because if I kept riding the bike while it was really running not the way it should, I'm not sure that you'd either damage the engine or get stuck somewhere. Either one is not good. Cheap insurance, I'll order those parts and making a little video about changing the points and the condenser in the future. Now, according to the factory manual, you know, there's been diagnosing things, of course, that I just think it's cheap insurance while I'm changing the points to change a condenser too. It's just cheap insurance. And when I get them in and I get the final adjustment on everything and then have Luciano do the fine tuning, I think we'll be back to having a dead reliable bike for another 10,000 miles. And as always, the factory manual pays for itself the first time you use it. There's no exception today. So is this going to be our supper? Lunch?
No,
breakfast?
This is for the freezer.
For the freezer? These are good, by the way. If you've never had Karen's home cooking.
These are chicken empanadas, and these are ham and egg empanadas for breakfast.
Oh my God. Oh, no wonder I'm having a weight issue. So the great RV adventure of today, a very, very short ride. We dressed off the points. It sounds, until I take a test ride, you really don't know. So listen to you here, it sounds fine. Until I take a test ride,